I sat where you did 45 years ago this month, December 14, 1972. You don't forget the day you get sworn in. And at that time, nobody imagined that there was any other way to get a document across town quickly other than by messenger. Okay, nobody imagined that you could carry your telephone in your pocket. Nobody imagined that you could email documents to court. You will be doing things in your practice and handling cases in a way that, as I said, I simply cannot imagine. I couldn't imagine that you could advertise, that you could go on television and advertise your firm. You couldn't in 1972. You started to be able to do so 4 years later. Now, not all those changes have been good. In 1986, at a continuing education of the bar meeting, Justice Epstein talked to us about the new Discovery Act. And I remember he said one of the new sections was, if you are going to get an extension of time to make discovery, it must be confirmed in writing. That was sad news, because up until then, a handshake sufficed. But the civility had deteriorated to the point that the legislature had to add that section into the Discovery Acts.
And we're delighted that she now has joined us on Division 4. Justice Collins.
Good morning, and congratulations to each and every one of you. You know, passing the bar is such a watershed event. We all remember it. In fact, on the way here today, I want to tell you, we were sharing our memories of when we passed the bar all those years ago. And you have now, before you, behind you, that same achievement. So it's something you always remember, taking the bar, passing the bar, how you found out you passed the bar, and now here you are. And I'm sure you're anxious to not only get on with your careers, but to probably get out of here today. So I will be very brief and echo what I knew each of us would say something about: civility, the need for civility. And I've been talking about this for so many years on so many panels that I thought I would just encapsulate it with one thing. Just pretend when you're in court, or when you're attending a deposition, or when you're writing something, that your mother is sitting there next to you, listening to everything you say, everything you write. She is listening to, or she is reading. And maybe that person for you wasn't your mother, maybe it was your kindergarten teacher, a favorite aunt. Would you say what you're getting ready to say if your mother, aunt, kindergarten teacher, Sunday school, or synagogue teacher were there? If you wouldn't, then I suggest don't say it. Don't do it. And I have seen some examples of such bad behavior, even in depositions, that it's unbelievable. I mean, I've seen, when reading the deposition pages later, and yes, the judge does read this later, so be careful, counsel saying, let's just take this outside. Let's just have, let's just put up your fists and take it outside. And you're reading this and you can't believe it, but it's true. Everyone here, you think, no one could ever do that, but yes. Just make sure none of you in this room ever approach anything like that. And I think if you keep that in mind, and just sitting there on your shoulder, sometimes they say picture your conscience, but just picture your mom, your dad, your teacher, and let that be your guide. And lastly, I would also echo the need, the real need, not just the desire or hope that you do this, but you have a need at some point to contribute, to give something back. So whether you do that as a career, as some of us have done before we were judges, we had a career in public service, whether you do it pro bono, whether you do it for a while, give something back. There is such need now more than ever, and not just because of the fires, such a need to help those who have no other resources, who don't know anything about the law, and who will be eager for your help. And I think it's true, you'll get as much out of it or more than you are putting into it. you'll get more satisfaction out of it than the help you're giving. So again, congratulations. Welcome to the bar, best bar in the country, I think, and look forward to seeing you in court.
Thank you, Justice Collins.
Next few months, you'll be receiving more advice than any person should be subjected to regarding how to practice law. And a famous writer once said that the secret to his success was listening to all the advice and then doing the exact opposite. I wouldn't say that with respect to the advice you've heard today. I just want to echo a couple of things. First and foremost, please remember that your personal integrity and character matter. They matter not simply because maintaining integrity and character is a good unto itself, but because those qualities do reflect well on the profession. And they matter in a very practical sense. They matter because they're qualities that a client can perceive and appreciate as you work on his or her case. They help build the lasting foundation of an attorney-client relationship. They also matter in practical terms in presenting your case. I can tell you as a judge on the close issue, the one in which the evidence and the law are equally balanced, and the decision comes down to the quality of the advocacy. More often than not, the lawyer that prevails is the one who is able to clothe his client and the cause in the lawyer's own inherent decency. Character and integrity matter.
I heard it from someone who was there, and so far as I know, and I think I'm right on this, it has never been published, but I will share it with you now. During the war, World War II, the legislature passed a bill to exempt from the bar exam anyone who was called into the service and served in the armed forces during the war. So long as they graduated from an accredited law school, that would be good enough. And the bill was before the governor for signature veto. The governor was Earl Warren, later Chief Justice of the United States. The executives of the State Bar of California thought this was horrendous. This is going to cheapen, debase the quality of the practice in California. So the governor was waited on by a delegation from the State Bar, led by the president of the State Bar and several members of their governing board, urging the governor to veto the bill. And the governor heard them out, and then addressing the president of the bar, I don't recall that person's name, but I'll just use George for now. The governor said, George, as I recall, when you became a lawyer, there was no bar exam. It used to be you'd appear before a committee of 3 lawyers or judges, and they'd ask you a few questions, and you'd become a lawyer. And it was only later that a formal exam was instituted. Well, George, you never sat for a bar exam. You seem to have turned out pretty well. You're president of the State Bar of California. I'm going to sign the bill. And he did sign the bill. I'm not aware that any bill similar to that has been proposed or enacted since, but it was enacted there. So I share that heretofore unpublished story with you all. Once admitted to the state and federal courts, you will hold a number of new titles: attorney at law, solicitor, advocate in equity, proctor in admiralty, and probably some other dignities as well. It's still popular in some quarters to slander our profession or those who practice it. But to borrow Henry Higgins' famous observation in My Fair Lady, every now and then you find one about whom you may doubt a bit, but on the whole, they're a wonderful lot. And I think that can be applied to members of the bar. I have just a little bit of wisdom to add to that which you've already heard. I think everyone has a share of talent, luck, and the ability to make the most out of things. There isn't much you can do about innate talent, and luck there is usually not much you can do, but most people have a reasonable dollop of both of those. The only one that you can really control has to do with discipline, energy, your ability and willingness to work hard and do whatever you need to do in terms of your own effort to get it right and to do it well. You will have choices, and it's such an easy thing to kind of glide over matters, figure you can slide it through, nobody will notice that you omitted an element or whatever it is. And you may get away with it now and again. But if that's what you do, it's going to catch up with you sooner or later, and the result can be a disaster. So what I would add to what you've already heard is, starting now from the beginning, make it your practice to get it right, to spend whatever time it takes to do that, to understand the problem, to write and rewrite if it's necessary. You'll find after time that this is not such a chore as it may seem at the beginning. But if you start with that, and that becomes your ethic, and it follows you, it'll pay dividend after dividend, and you'll notice others who don't follow this, who sooner or later get caught up in one disaster or another. That should not be your lot. And you have it in your hands to make the most of the talent that you have.
Thank you. Well, good morning, folks. I've been on the committee for over 17 years now. I'm very proud of the work we do, but more importantly, you should be proud. You are among the best of the best. You have passed the California bar exam. You are literally some of the best attorneys in the world. We know it's a tough exam, but we've challenged you and you have stepped up. But you did not also do this alone. I urge you to thank the people sitting next to you. It's been a long road. They deserve your thanks. They deserve your support. Yes, I see some of you are doing it right now. I'm glad I was here to remind you. You're going to continue on this journey, and there will be others that will be there for you as well. You will continue to not do this alone. I hope that you give back to those immediately responsible and for those who you will meet along your journey. This community needs you. Giving back to your community will strengthen you as an individual and your skills as an attorney. Find something that means something to you. An issue, a cause. I know that I spent a good deal of time working with children and adolescents in the foster care system. A system that, as you all can imagine, is not such a pleasant place to be. There was one little child who worked his way from an infant through that system, going from home to home, school to school, community to community, pretty much with everything that this kid owned in a little garbage bag and a pillowcase. And there was an attorney who stepped up and decided that they were going to spend some time helping this child. And they stepped up making sure that as this young person became a teen, that services were there, that the homes were appropriate, and ultimately helped that child through an adoption process. Well, nothing is more important than family in many ways. And I'll tell you, that child was me. And I have a mom and dad and a family today because an attorney stepped up and helped guide my life and helped me get through a system that gave me a mom, a dad, sisters, and today, some great kids and a family of my own. So I, again, urge you to do as much as you can do beyond your practice to help our community. With that, may it please the court, I'm really here today to not just offer you advice, but on behalf of the Committee of Bar Examiners to present these candidates for admission to practice law in California. They have spent years preparing for this day. Title IV, Division I of the Rules of the State Bar and Section 6060 of the California Business and Professions Code require that these candidates meet certain pre-legal requirements. They can complete an education in law, they be found of good moral character, they pass a professional responsibility examination, and that they pass the California Bar Examination. They have met all these requirements, for which they should be congratulated. The admission rules require that these candidates, after having met these requirements, be certified to the Supreme Court of California by the Committee of Bar Examiners as eligible for admissions, and they have. And upon motion of the committee, the Supreme Court of California has ordered their admission to practice law in California upon taking the prescribed oath. They are before you for that purpose, and it is an honor for me to present them to you for taking the attorney's oath of office.
And you move the motion. All right, are the motions submitted? The motion is granted. And I'll now call on Joe Lane, the clerk of the Second District Court of Appeal, to administer the oath of office to each of you as an attorney at law. We would ask that all of the candidates please stand.
Yes, will all the admittees please rise? We provide the answers to the questions. The answer to today's question is, I do. Do you and each of you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that you will faithfully discharge the duties of an attorney and counselor at law to the best of your knowledge and ability? As an officer of the court, you will strive to conduct yourself at all times with dignity, courtesy, and integrity. Your answer?
I do.
Counsel, please be seated.
Our chief clerk, and congratulate all of you. And we are now adjourned.
Please rise. This session of the Court of Appeal of the State of California, 2nd Appellate District, Division 4, is now adjourned. Please be seated and remain seated as the federal court session will follow shortly. The United States District Court for the Central District of California, with Court Judge Fernando O'Guin, is now in session.
You may be seated. Honor and a privilege to be here. This is always one of my favorite things to do as a judge. I want to extend my sincere congratulations to all of you, and I know you all worked very hard in college and in law school to get here today. And I'm sure some of you may be wondering whether all the time and effort you have put in to get here today is worth it. Let me assure you that it is. For the legal profession is one of the few professions where you can really make a difference. But to make a difference, you must be willing to devote yourself to the profession, both on a personal and professional level. During the first several years of your career, if not your entire career, expect to work long hours in developing your skills and abilities as a lawyer. But take it from me, the investment of time is well worth it in the long run. It is important to find mentors and others who can guide you through the obstacles and process of becoming a lawyer. Bar associations have resources available to help you overcome many of the obstacles you will encounter along the way. Putting in long hours, however, is not enough to succeed in the legal profession. Before becoming a judge, I was a civil lawyer for many years. And throughout those years, I interacted with hundreds of lawyers. And I can tell you without a moment's hesitation that I could separate those lawyers into two lists. Those that were professional and abided by the profession's ethical obligations, and those that did not. The integrity and stability of the legal system, and indeed our system of government, depends upon lawyers conforming to the established ethical obligations of the profession. As a preamble to the canons of professional ethics adopted by the American Bar Association in the early 1900s states, in America, where the stability of courts and of all departments of government rests upon the approval of the people, it is particularly essential that the system for establishing and dispensing justice be developed and maintained carefully, such that the public will have absolute confidence in the integrity and impartiality of its administration. The future of the Republic, to a great extent, depends upon our maintenance of justice, pure and unsullied. It cannot be maintained unless the conduct and motives of the members of our profession are such as to merit the approval of all just men and women, although that wasn't in the early version. However, being a good lawyer means more than complying with the letters of the model rules or ethical canons. It means that you must be a professional in your words and your deeds. A report of the ABA Commission on Professionalism makes one thing very clear, that the model rules and ethical canons address the minimum standards with which a lawyer must comply. Professionalism, on the other hand, is concerned with what is more broadly expected of lawyers, both by the public and the best traditions of the legal profession itself. Remember that every action you take as a lawyer will impact your credibility and reflect on your professionalism. Therefore, be honest with everyone in every case, work hard for your clients, and be respectful to the profession and the court. And let today be a celebration of a significant achievement in your lives and the beginning of a rewarding and meaningful career. So I now would like to ask the applicants to please stand. Repeat after me, raise your right hand. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States. That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the government of the United States. That I will maintain the respect due to the courts of justice and judicial officers. And that I will demean myself as an attorney. Proctor, advocate, solicitor, and counselor of this court uprightly, according to law, so help me God. Congratulations, everyone, and you thank you.
Congratulations. I'm just going to give you a 3-year online database. It's all There you go. Congratulations.
Macy, và mở cửa vô Macy giờ không biết nó phá ra làm gì. Bánh mì hồi xưa nghe đây là Macy. Dạ quá nặng ơi. Tóc mấy tuổi. Sốc. Cái này cái áo mới giặt máu phải không? Bữa dính máu đầy rồi đi máu nhuộm từ cái tay.